Good night. Good night. Tonight we're going to read A Squash and a Squeeze by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. This book probably can be bought at Kell here in Argentina. Julia Donaldson is one of my very favorite illustrators and authors. And here we go. A Squash and a Squeeze. A little old lady lived all by herself with a table and chairs and a jug on a shelf. A wise old man heard her grumble and grouse. "There's not enough room in my house." "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squish." "Take in your hand," said the wise old man. "Take in my hand? What a curious plan." Well, the hen laid an egg on the fireside rug and flapped around the room, knocking over the jug. "Oh," the little old lady cried, "what shall I do? It was bulky for one and it's tiny for two. My nose had a tickle and there's no room to sneeze. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your goat," said the wise old man. "Take in my goat? What a curious plan." Well, ma, the goat chewed the curtains and trod on the egg, then sat down to nibble the table leg. The little old lady cried, "Glory pie! It was tiny for two and it's stitchy for three." The hen pecks the goat and the goat's got fleas. My house is a squash and a squeeze. And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." And the old man said, "Take in your pig," said the wise old man. "Take in my pig. What a curious plan." So she took in her pig, who kept chasing the hen and riding the ladder again and again. Ma. The little old lady cried, "Stop, I implore. It was stitchy for three, and it's teeny for four. Even the pig in the larder agrees. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wild old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." Ayuda. ¿Y qué le dijo el viejo? ¿Qué te pasó? "Take in your cow," said the wise old man. ¿Cómo hacen las vacas?
Moo.
"Take in my cow. What a curious plan." Well, the cow took one look and charged straight at the pig. Then jumped on the table and tapped out a jig. ¿Sabes qué es un jig?
No.
Así que es como un baile loco en la mesa. Jiggly, The little old lady said, "Heavens alive, it was teeny for four and it's weeny for five." A ver, vamos a contar cuánta gente hay en su casa chiquitita. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." Take them all out, said the wise old man. But then I'll be back where I first began. So she opened the window and out flew the hen. That's better. At last I can sneeze again. She shooed out the goat and shoved out the pig. My house is beginning to feel pretty big. She huffled and she puffed and she pushed out the cow. Moo. Just look at my house. It's enormous now. Thank you, old man, for the work you have done. It was weeny for 5. It's gigantic for 1. There is no need to grumble and there's no need to grouse. There's plenty of room in my house. And now she's full of frolics and fiddly-dees. It isn't a squash and it isn't a squeeze. Yes, she's full of frolics and fiddly-dees. It isn't a squash or a squish. Fiddly-dee, fiddly-dee. The fly has buried the bumblebee.
Gallina, cerdo, vaca. Gallina, cerdo, vaca.
And that's the end. Good night. Thank you for listening.
¿Cómo nos portamos?